We're going to try to bring you now, if we can, Ariana Contier. She's the former UN spokesperson in Kabul and the author of the book, Afghanistan in the Heart of Chaos. She joins us now by phone from Paris. Ariana, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, I want to ask you, during your service in Kabul, certainly you must have been in contact and dealing with some of those very people that we've been discussing in the media who are have been trapped, been left behind by this sort of quick and chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. So I wonder, talking from a personal perspective, how you feel about that situation, how you feel about those people who have been left behind.
Well, I think we all feel terrible because we've been not only welcomed by the Afghan people for the last 20 years, I'm talking about non-military, but people who were involved in the field with them. So we've been very welcomed by them, but we've been promising them that we had the best system, that if they were going to be with us, they would have a better life, and that, of course, we'd be behind them all the time. And all of a sudden, in less time than we ever thought, we've got the Taliban in town. People haven't had time to get visa to get evacuated. People haven't had security to get to the airport. People can't drive the road. I read that Pakistan has closed the border, and people are stuck. And I have to say that I remember spending hours talking with my assistant and explaining how my civilization somehow, with the freedom of expression, the freedom of meetings, the freedom of women, of course, but it's more than just the freedom of women that everyone talks about. It's the freedom as a whole. And I spent hours, trying to convince those people how I thought my system was good, and I still believe that. But I mean, my system had let them down, and that's very, very sad. And the trust there, I mean, I know they still trust me. I know it's not my fault, but I feel very ashamed.
Right. Let me ask you also the question of those who have gotten out, the refugees. You're sitting in Paris. I know there's a lot of discussion, I'd say debate, in European capitals now about the responsibility of Europe, which is several countries, of course, NATO countries, took part in the operation there to absorb those refugees. And what's your feelings on that discussion?
Well, I think the Americans certainly don't have the same issues that we do regarding refugees and migrants when you take a decision about Eurasia and you're sitting in the United States. We're part of Eurasia, like they are part. The land routes do exist. People that have been coming to Western Europe or to Southern Europe through Iran, walking through Iran and then to Turkey. Many of them have gotten stuck in Turkey, but many others have managed to come, and they still will be coming. I mean, the road going through Iran has been there for over 10 years now. And it is indeed one of the issues because even in between countries, via transit countries, I would say, they don't want to have the Afghans. There are far too many Afghan refugees in Pakistan and Iran. The Turks have made themselves very clear, and I'm afraid that European countries have also expressed their concerns, to put it mildly.
Right. Very briefly, a lot of discussion about how the Taliban, whether they will be more moderate in the second go-around in control of the country. From your experience, what do you expect?
I think it's the $1 million question. I mean, on one hand, we all know what they've been between '96 and 2000, the medieval regime. But they're in a very different position today. First of all, they hold the entire territory. In '96, they had the Northern Alliance that were against them. The Northern Alliance was supported by Russia and by India and Iran to a certain extent, and they had a war in the country. They don't have that anymore. What they need now is to come from a terrorist insurrectional movement into someone who's able to govern this country, and for that they need to change. So, of course, I mean, it's not a one bloc, the Taliban. Right. I mean, you've got educated mullahs who have been dealing in Qatar for quite a while, and then you've got peasants from Kandahar who certainly didn't learn to read, write, or fly planes, and be the famous technicians and the technocrats that the Taliban would like to retain. That's not